Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, tonight, the Fantasy Football 5 proudly brings to you. Oh, I already said the Fantasy Football 5. I did. I screwed that up. The League of Ordinary Gentlemen proudly brings to you the Fantasy Football 5. Introducing Balls to the Wall, Brian Roberts, Jake, Coach Ruth, Now, Brown Cow, Ryan Robertson, and JT, the Commish. How we doing, boys?
Doing good now. Doing bad, man. Hanging in there, watching this Patrick Mahomes fella, hoping he kind of sucks at football now, but he doesn't.
Ryan, what you need to happen tonight, man?
Patrick Mahomes to suck at football, except when he dumps it down to old number 25, a couple of bombs to happen to old Marquise Brown, and then Mark Andrews just to stop it.
You know what they say about Hollywood?
It's full of a bunch of that.
Oh, okay, well, I was going to say Hollywood always up to no good.
Okay, that makes sense. That's fair.
Chris Dim likes your reply? What don't you feel good about
Well,
yourself?
we have a local celebrity liking a local celebrity tweet. We have Brian Roberts being tweeted by Christopher Merriweather Dim.
You're better on the have to say local.
Oh,
the YouTube's are worldwide.
How many views we get on Saturday?
I watched 4 times, so
yeah, I watched 3. So we're at least up to 7. All right. What about some general takeaways from this weekend, fellas? What we got football-wise? Jake, what you think? What stuck out to you from this past weekend?
Josh Allen is undrafted in our league. He is the second highest rated fantasy player right now, only behind Russell Wilson, who is going third. Is he for real? Is this MVP Josh Allen? Ryan says no. I think they're 3-0, right?
If he
they are 3-0.
Yeah, I'm saying. I'm
just saying. I was hesitant on Josh Allen, but I had like this thing where I was like, man, I had him in another league last year. I was pretty big on him. If I hadn't got Russell, I was really thinking about taking him a little bit later. And yeah, Josh Allen has looked good to me in a big game because they had a big lead. They blew it. What a comeback by Goff. It was one of my bold predictions.
I like some Jared Goff.
And then, winning at crunch time. Something the Atlanta Falcons can't do.
Josh Allen never had a 300-yard passing game
until week 1,
and he's had 3 straight.
Yeah, until week 1, he never had a 400 passing yard game because you can't have a 400-yard passing yard game without having a 300-yard passing game. Had that in week 2.
Okay, my general takeaway is exactly related to what he just said about Josh Allen and the fact that he never had a 300-yard passing game. Mine is, if you give a decent quarterback a go-to number 1 wide receiver, really helps out and makes a big difference. I mean, you look at Kyler Murray last year; he was okay throwing the ball, but he was just more of an athletic quarterback was running. You give him DeAndre Hopkins, and it's a completely different ball game. You give Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and then you move John Brown back to his more comfortable role as a number 2 wide receiver, and he's been dominant. You give Russell Wilson a second year with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, makes a big difference. So it's basically like if you have a number 1 wide receiver, cures a lot of things on the offense. He only got 19 targets yesterday from Justin Herbert. 19 targets, which is outrageous. Seeing as where I think Tyrod Taylor threw it to him 3 times week 1.
Yeah, so he wasn't seeing much.
If you have a number 1 wide receiver, those guys get open about 90% of the time. So if you have one, throw it to them. Usually good things will happen.
Michael Irvin actually made that same comment on NFL Network.
Something like that.
He said, NFL teams stop treating number 1 wide receivers as their disposable. Like, you can trade them and get rid of them and replace them like that. And he says, look at Buffalo, kind of brought that up. It just talks about the impact they have for a young quarterback and opening up the running game.
As great as Calvin Ridley is, Julio Jones wasn't there yesterday. Made a big difference. Matt Stafford didn't have a number 1 wide receiver the first 2 weeks. You give him Kenny Galladay yesterday, they win a game. I mean, it completely changed if you have a number 1 wide receiver.
Very true. You know who is replaceable though? Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky, man, y'all set me up for that. Mitch Trubisky. So he leads a come from behind, out of nowhere victory in week 1. The Bears screw around, win week 2. Week 3, they play Atlanta down big and
Right where you
Mitchell,
want 'em.
right where you want him. And Mitchell Trubisky, you got to go. Nick Foles in the ball game. Nick Foles throws for 3 touchdowns, does throw a pick. And now Nick Foles is being named the starting quarterback.
Does Nick Foles just got to start the season on the bench for him to be productive? Because anytime he's come in as a starter, he's been. But anytime he's come, anytime he started on the bench and comes in, dude is lights out.
It may be the case.
He
But dude,
replaced
Nick
Michael
Foles.
Vick that year, and he just
He
went
did.
on. I think he threw like 30-some touchdowns, like 3 or 4
Yeah.
interceptions.
And then got signed by someone, never played, went back to Philly, gets hurt, wins the Super Bowl. Then where did Jacksonville?
Went to Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Broke his collarbone week 1.
And then Gardner Minshew
And
took
Gardner-
that spot.
He came back, and then Gardner Minshew just basically beat him out.
Which Gardner Minshew, like the way he was playing, the way, yeah, right. Like I don't fault them for doing that,
He's
but
like
I do
Nick Foles coming off the bench.
agree. I do fault Chicago though for signing or trading for Foles and then not naming him the starter.
Or they knew what we just said. They knew that his stats would be a lot better if they could get 2 wins without him playing, and now you throw in your ace up the sleeve.
Well, dude, I'm just gonna be honest.
He's like
Like
the Joker up
He's a magician.
there. He's
when everything goes to plan, nobody panics.
Everyone loses their mind.
But dude, I mean, seriously, look at these teams. Chicago's 3-0, and
Are you
Atlanta.
kidding me?
Who was
All
that?
those
Who was that?
offensive weapons you give it to Anthony
Sherman? Hey, that's a touchdown for Pat Mahomes. I'll take it. I need Travis Kelce.
That's right.
I will say this about Mitchell Trubisky. I'll give him some props. He was the leading rusher for Chicago yesterday because he had 1 rush for 45 yards, and it took David Montgomery 14 carries to get to 45 yards.
I think that's more of an indictment on Dave Montgomery than it is positive for Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky averaged 45 yards a carry yesterday.
You're right. Pretty solid numbers there.
Maybe it's like a Chaz Surratt moment.
I was about to say, put him back there. They just lost 3 going.
That was the quarterback in North Carolina that did not do very good quarterback. Now he's an
Now it's a possible first
All-American linebacker.
College.
Oh, okay.
Joshua Scott.
All right, Brian, take away. What you got?
Back to you, Jay.
All right, well, that's enough from Brian.
The Falcons stuff.
They really do, man.
Actually, the Falcons are undefeated in 50-minute football games. But since they started playing these 60-minute games, I'm pretty sure they
Can I ask
can't win.
something?
Yeah.
And I know Ryan's going to swing one way, and Brian might swing the other
Oh,
way.
You don't know.
Which way am I going to swing? Which way am I going
I
to
feel
swing?
like me and you might be kind of middle ground here.
God, let's hear it.
How should Matt Ryan's legacy be? I mean, he's lost pretty epic games in pretty epic fashion. I'm not questioning his stats, but I mean, he's also had, Julio Jones for most of his career that has been very good for him. Had some weapons, even Roddy White early on. Gonzalez, yeah. It's something where we look at him and kind of say, like, I mean, not even like a Charles Barkley, but like a guy who could handle the pressure.
I got somebody in mind. I think Matt Ryan's career.
I don't know why Brian just called out 2 of my favorite quarterbacks.
I think we might remember Matt Ryan like we do Tony Romo.
Very true.
Good quarterback during the regular season, but just doesn't win playoff games. And I'm not even saying that's an indictment of Tony Romo. That's my favorite quarterback, my favorite player. And I feel the same way about Matt Ryan in the fact that I don't think it's necessarily an indictment on him, but it falls on him because he is the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I had it more even like a Charles Barkley. Like, he could win. Tony Romo never won playoff games, but at least Matt Ryan.
He won 2. He won 2.
Matt Ryan took him to the Super Bowl. Just got there, had the game, basically won. And they choked
Okay,
it.
I got something to say about this. Everybody knows I'm a Matt Ryan homer, so it might sound like this, but he has to be good enough to get them up in all these games. But then I think when they get up by so much, the play calling starts to be extremely conservative, and that's not how their teams are built. And then their defense just pisses it away. So it's not all on him.
Cam Newton
But,
would
yeah,
love
I mean-
that.
Cam Newton wouldn't have been in the position.
No, not to blow the game. No, you already function.
Well, he has won an MVP and went 15 and
Matt Ryan's winning
Matt
MVP.
Ryan won MVP.
And should have won a Super Bowl. Like, I think that's more of an indictment of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I think it's an organization altogether because you have to be a decent amount to get there.
Right, dude. There's no way they should have lost that Super Bowl.
they're-
There's no way.
Their offense this year, they're putting up basically 30-some points a game but their defense is a sieve and just keeps blowing leads and blowing leads. Like,
All right, just looking at the Falcons. They played Seattle in week 1. 25-38 loss. Last week's loss to Dallas, 39-40. Again, they should not. I don't know how they lost that. And then this week, again,
that's Devin Duvernay again.
they should not have lost. They should not have lost to Chicago 26-30. Like, they could easily be 2-1 right now. Very easy.
And we're having a totally different
But
conversation.
right, they're 0-3.
But it's 2 of the losses and how they lost. And I'm not saying that the
If
factors that y'all brought in didn't, but I mean, like,
It falls on Matt Ryan. It does.
If he throws them, like guys like that find ways to win those games.
Right. Who's got it worse, Cleveland or Atlanta?
Cleveland.
They have no
Do they?
Yeah.
Because
Cleveland's 2-1.
Second quarter.
Cleveland's
I'm talking
2-1.
about the cities as a whole.
I've never been to Cleveland.
Lucky man.
Braves constantly win divisions. Exit out early. Probably going to happen this week.
You're not talking about that because Tyler went
The Falcons keep having good teams. Can't do anything with them.
Cleveland won some NBA Finals, though.
I just want to let y'all know that Robert Griffin III
Oh, they
gets
won.
a little bit of airtime on Monday Night Football. Hasn't done that in a while.
Who did?
Robert Griffin III. He's not playing. He was just congratulating the kick returner.
Oh, that sounds about right. All right, so let's go to our next segment. All right, so this is going to Ryan to the panic room. Ryan, tell us what the panic room is.
All right, panic room is we got some decently highly drafted players, and for whatever reason, whether their team's not doing well, they're not doing well, they're not getting the opportunities they thought they were going to get. Is it time to panic on them, or should you give them at least 1 or 2 more weeks? So we're going to start out with Joe Mixon.
Let me get Joe Mixon pulled up. We'll look at a little statistical information.
All right, Joe Mixon. If you don't remember, for the people that are not in our league, which I know all y'all are listening, Joe Mixon got traded along with Devontae Parker for Miles Sanders. And I think 3 out of the 4 people here thought the Joe Mixon, Devontae Parker side won easily. But I don't know out of those 3 players if anybody's really met or exceeded their expectations they had on the draft night.
I think Miles Sanders has met his. He just didn't play week 1.
Yeah, well,
But I think
He's got 12 and 18.
I think that's what you
First round.
had him an 8th overall pick.
That you gave up 2 players for. I know you're a big Miles Sanders guy.
I'm a Boston Scott guy. When Miles Sanders goes down, Boston Scott's the man.
Like, I've seen guys in the 2nd and 3rd round that have been putting up bigger numbers than that.
Aaron Jones.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Eckler, I mean, I know I'm not going to get in the end zone, but he's put up 15 and then whatever his week was this week. I don't know off the top of my head, 20 something. But, I mean, it's not like I just don't trust the offensive ability.
No, I don't either. That's why I got Boston Scott, because when Miles Sanders gets the boot, Boston Scott's the guy. Anyways, all right, Joe Mixon.
We'll do the panic room on both of those players then.
Okay, fine.
Because we have written down here Joe Mixon twice, so we're going to just switch out one of those Joe Mixons with a Miles Sanders. So Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon. All
Would
right.
you panic about Joe Mixon, or do you think better days are ahead?
All right. For me, I think Joe Mixon, I don't think has played poorly. I think they've been in positions where they've let Joe Burrow throw a little too much. I think Joe Mixon, Joe Mixon.
So they looked like the worst team in football last year. It's kind of rolling over to this year a little bit.
I think Joe Burrow is good. Joe Mixon, 19 rushes, 16 rushes, 17 rushes, decent volume, 1 reception, 4 receptions, 2 receptions. That is what needs to change for Joe Mixon. I think if they get him more involved in the passing game, I think that Joe Mixon is going to be a decent pick. Do I think he's going to return first round value? It's going to be tough, but I think I would not panic on Joe Mixon just yet.
So you're not pushing the panic button. You're not going in the panic
Ready to
room.
ride it out with him.
Okay.
Not yet. I honestly thought about sending a trade for Joe Mixon.
What would you offer for?
Kareem Hunt, straight up. Okay.
All right. Next person in the panic room, Jake.
T.Y. Hilton. So I'll start kind of talking about him because I'm the one that drafted him. I was hoping with Phillip Rivers. Uh, I was hoping with Phillip Rivers going there, and after what he had done with the Los Angeles Chargers,
Yes.
that he would be able to carry that over with Ty. When Ty had Andrew Luck, he was a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy football.
Takes the top off the defense.
Yeah, consistently a number one or a high two threat weekly start, and he has not cleared 10 points yet. He has dropped some end zone touches. It's even like they're even not looking for him. I really hope this week he would break out with Campbell being out and nothing. I've wrote it for 3 weeks, and I think he's about to see my bench until he can show me that he can be the TY.
I mean, once he dropped that 50-yard touchdown pass last week, I don't feel like Phillips like, yeah, I'm just going to stop throwing it to you and just continue to get the ball to Jonathan Taylor.
Which I'm good with.
Which also is effective. And they've played some garbage teams so far.
Yeah.
Brian, what would you do on T.Y. Hilton? Okay.
All right,
Fair enough.
Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon.
Brian, what are you doing with Kenyon Drake? Are you panicking on him?
Now, he is attractive. Kenyon Drake, no, you're not going to panic on him, but I still overall enjoy the panic on 90% of the players we're talking about. I feel like Joe Mixon is going to turn around. Joe Mixon is going to be fine. Let me pull up.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question about that.
Yep.
Is it because they were drafted as like early round talents that you're just not going to give up on the talent?
But then a lot of it. Miles Sanders might be a little bit different because there's not a good enough record yet.
They're 0-2-1.
I'm talking about him personally.
Oh, okay.
His
He
track record.
took. He didn't have a great start last year. He really did turn it on in the second half.
He was splitting carries with Jordan Howard.
But it was a small. You had a small sample size coming into the year of what he would do in the full season.
Yeah, but I think Cincinnati's
To draft him,
find themselves.
My bad.
All
All right. Ron said Jordan Howard. I got an interesting stat of the night about Jordan Howard. He has more touchdowns than yards he is averaging per carry.
Yep.
He's averaging more touchdowns a game than he is averaging per carry. He has one touchdown per game, but like 0.8 yards per carry.
I drafted Jordan Howard because I thought the Dolphins were just going to ride him, just give him all the carries. He's basically getting one carry for 1 yard because all he does is bring him on the goal line and he scores, and that's it. It's like the Vasante Shanko of running backs.
You know, it's like the Lindell White.
Stealing all Chris Johnson's.
He really did. All right, Brian. Kenyon
I'm looking
Drake.
at Kenyon Drake's rushing attempts. They need to go up a little bit. He's not done bad with what he's gotten. 16 for 60 week 1, 20 for 86 week 2, 18 for 73.
That offense is so explosive. You would think he'd be getting some light boxes to run at and good goal line opportunities, but
He's only gotten
Kyler Murray's running a lot of them
That's
in, or
the
they're throwing it to Andy Isabella and DeAndre Hopkins.
2 out of the 3 guys, well, really 3 out of the 4 have been running backs that we haven't done met their expectations if we include Miles Sanders in that conversation.
Yeah.
And 2 of which, Mixon and Drake, they haven't really been focal points of the offense. They've been going other directions, and I kind of feared that with Arizona. I traded Drake in another league recently because I kind of noticed that it's more built around Murray, which I'm not saying is a bad technique. They're 3-0 as well, and the dude's playing very, very good football right
I
now.
think they're 2-1. I think they're supposed to be next year.
They did. They came back in 1 late. That's right.
Because Kenny Galladay came back as number 1 receiver and fourth callback.
I want to touch on something real quick, Jake, that you just talked about with Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake, through 3 games, has 5 targets. Not enough. 5 targets, 5
One of the best
receptions,
receiving backs.
5 receptions for 20 yards. Like, he cannot return that value with those receiving numbers. Cannot.
And if you watch Cliff Kingsbury offenses in college, dump offs to the running back were very well represented in his offense, and they're just not doing it. It's not like Chase Evans is coming in and getting a bunch of receptions either. They're using him the same way.
You think they're using Kyler differently, and that's maybe what's
I
taken
think if
away?
you've got Hopkins being open all the time, it's hard not to throw it to that guy. I mean, he's getting like 10 to 15 targets a game. It's good enough.
Who we got next on Panic Room? Are we talking Miles Sanders right here?
I mean, we were, and then we kind of basically said it's
Let me just
it's
bring
too
up
early
on
to
one
tell.
Miles Sanders thing, and I don't think you're hitting the panic button on him compared to. I'd be very nervous about Kenyon Drake just because I feel like that offense is transitioning more to very pass happy, more just leave the ball in Kyle Murray's hands. And then we didn't really talk about Joe Mixon, how much they're behind, but they're wanting to establish a winning culture, so they're always trying to battle back in games. So I think that's a big reason why they're throwing it as much there with Joe Burrow. Miles Sanders, what's kind of made me worry there is, we were talking about putting Wentz on this list because we said he wasn't on a roster. The offense is just so bad there. It's like everyone right now is saying we're going to challenge them to beat us by passing it and just maybe start loading the box against them. And I don't know if he's that guy. He's the Adrian Peterson that can do something like that.
We're panicking on the entire Philly offense,
Yeah,
not
I guess
just
that's
Miles
what I should have
Sanders.
said.
Yeah.
I'm panicking on Philly offense.
Okay. Because I'm not panicking at all, Miles Sanders.
No. I mean, when they're talking about should we give Jalen Hurts some snaps at quarterback, that's a red flag for me.
I agree with that for
Like,
sure.
that's just way too early to be talking like that.
All right, so Miles Sanders, real quick. So last week, 20 rushes for 95 yards, touchdown, 7 receptions, 36 yards. This week, 18 carries, 95 yards, 4 receptions, 12 yards. That's not much, but he's getting volume, and that's all you can really ask for. It's hard to panic when somebody's getting volume.
I guess I'm more worried about touchdowns for an offense that's having trouble with it. And
It's hard to trust a fantasy player on a bad offense because they're not getting scoring opportunities.
First
They
round
break
talent.
one off for 50.
I didn't mean it as like he wasn't talented. I meant like I was nervous about the offense and his ability to score touchdowns on a team that.
Not a similar runner, but we were talking about before we started recording about Steven Jackson when he was in St. Louis. Fantastic running back,
Yeah.
but that offense didn't score a ton, so he either had to break long runs or he wasn't scoring a lot of
I like
touchdowns.
that comparison.
Let's pour one out for Steven Jackson's fantasy career getting wasted in St. Louis.
Time my dead homies. All right, Jake, take us into our next segment. What we got? What are we calling this?
All right, Jake's choked up a little bit. I'm letting him steer this once he starts going, but we're going to call it kill, deal, or chill.
What does that mean, Ryan?
All right. Kill, guys you can just cut ties with, don't need them anymore. Kill them off your roster. Deal means got a guy, think I might want to start trading him. And then chill, you're going to hang tight with him. Maybe not keep him in your lineup, but you're just going to hold on to him. So we got kill, deal, chill.
Kill, deal, chill. KDC, son. Jake.
KDC son.
What did I say?
KDC son. You said KDC son, and I just compared it.
Oh, okay. I honestly, for a second there, thought I said a different letter.
You were right on it, buddy. I was just giving a little
Freaking
inflection.
acronyms, man. They'll mess you up every once in a
They
while.
will.
All right, Jake. What we got on FYI? Hold on, BTW. That's what it is. Hey, by the way,
What does BTW mean?
By the way.
that was funny. That was a good time. We were
True story.
18, 19 years old. All right, Jake. What do we got? Little KDC action.
Let's start with Jordan's 5th round pick,
Cheese and fries.
Gibson.
Antonio Gibson.
Antonio Gibson. All right, let's pull him up. Let's see what his stat line looks like through the first couple of weeks. So, was anybody surprised when he took Gibson in the 5th?
Yeah, because I thought he was going to do it the 4th.
I had to take him like the 9th.
Gibson wasn't on my radar.
I was looking at him in about the 7th, but I think Gibson's a good flex. You draft him as your flex player, and he could break out. But trusting him as your number 1 running back is risky, dicey. Yeah, it's a risky proposition because if he doesn't pan out, then you have to just scramble to get a starting running back.
Well, I guess that's where I might be kind of leading to on this one is that Jordan's perspective on this was that this team's always tried to establish a running game, especially in a Ron Rivera coach team where running the ball has always been very important. They had just got rid of Adrian Peterson before the draft, and so he looked at it with everyone else saying Gibson's going to be the guy to carry the load there. And so he thought this might be like everyone else said reach, but it could have been a big boom. Problem is, the snaps haven't come. What's his stat line so far?
So he's I got rushing attempts and receptions up right here. So in week 1 and week 3, 9 rushing attempts. Week 2, he had 13. Has not ran for over 55 yards. And looking at receptions and targets, he got 3 targets this past week, but that is a high of 11 yards receiving.
Wow. So what's the most fantasy points he's put up in a week?
Let's see. So it's probably got to be. It's got to be. It has to be this week, just because he had negative receiving yards last week. So let's take a look at that real quick. So Antonio Gibson, he had 11.5 this week. Actually, well, I was wrong. It was last week, 11.7. So he outscored himself by 0.2 last week.
So he's had 11 last year.
11
As a
past
Terry
2.
McLaurin owner in this league, Dwayne Haskins is destroying any prospect of having good fantasy players in that offense. He is terrible.
He's not very
I would bench him for Kyle Allen right now.
All right. So little KDC, Kill Deal Chill. What you
I
doing?
would kill Dwayne Haskins. And I would wait for Antonio Gibson to have one good week and then try to trade him. So
Okay.
I'll try to deal him.
Brom, what would you do if you're an Antonio Gibson owner? What do you do with him?
You kill it.
Cut him?
Absolutely.
5th round pick.
with 11 the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Jordan, you can deal him to me.
I'm going to say chill on him.
Chill?
The reason I'm going to say chill is because, again, knowing Ron Rivera, the running game is going to come. I feel like that's got to be a staple. And they're not going to win games with Dwayne Haskins throwing the football.
Nope.
So I agree with what Ryan said. I think a breakout game for a young guy could boost the confidence, not only of him, but of the franchise to say, hey, we need to kind of get this kid more carries, which you could look at trading them, but I don't think you're going to get a very good return for his potential throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like I feel the same way. I would chill on him. He's a rookie. Like, again, you don't play fantasy football for the first 13 weeks, dude. You just try to make the playoffs.
You actually play it every week.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ryan. You don't but it matters what happens down the stretch. A rookie, I imagine, kind of first getting his feet wet in the NFL, I would rather take a little bit longer look on him, especially if he is. I mean, 9 carries may not seem like a lot, but it's a decent workload for a rookie stepping into a really weird situation.
He was overdrafted.
I was about to say,
Overdrafted.
he went in the 5th. Where would you have felt comfortable drafting?
7
I said,
or 8.
I said mid 7, low 8. Yeah, that's a
Higher
7
than
or 8 turn.
All right, fair enough. All right, who we got
And
next?
if he was drafted with a 7-8 turn, I don't think you wouldn't be freaking out as much, But the fact that you put him in the 5th as your
Yeah, the
number 1,
circumstances around him.
Well, because you would probably
3 or 4 running back, I would be like super chill back there.
right. That's what I was about to say. Like, if he was on your bench, if he was one of your bench running backs, or even your second running back,
You're not going from kill to deal, but you're not going to get anything out of it. Like, you're stuck.
you're not going to get what you want to get
You're
out
not
of a
getting
5th round.
fifth
pick.
You're not going to get any better than where you are.
But you're not going to pick up anyone better. So
No, you're not.
Because if there was, JT would have already put in a $45.
I only put in 30.
41.
Hey, hold on. Jordan put in what? What did we say last week? 45 on Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, that's pretty high. What did he do?
He had 10 yards.
he played for the
Wow.
Giants. So that's
5
not good.
rushes for 10 yards.
Who was that?
Tyreek Hill was scored a touchdown.
Hey, Mahomes, keep doing it, son. Need Travis Kelce, but keep doing it. All right, who we got next on KDC, son?
David Johnson.
Let's get him pulled up. David Johnson. All right, so David Johnson is on Andrew Ransdale's squad. Question mark. Baba booey, baba booey. Let's get him up here.
What a ball.
Say giggity.
Thank you. Yep.
All right, let's look at David Johnson. All right, so David Johnson's stat lines. Let's see what he looks like. I'm gonna pull up his game logs. I like looking at game logs just because it kind of gives you a little bit better idea of it than just overall.
Let you look behind the numbers, peek behind the curtain, if you will.
I mean, because it's a week-to-week game. I mean, fantasy football. I mean, at the end of the year, if you say that you have the 5th highest running back, well, is that coming in bunches? Is it coming? Is
Derrick Henry 2 years ago was very
Yeah.
misleading because he had
Mhm.
like 70% of his fantasy points in the last 3 weeks of the season,
I mean,
which was outrageous.
Agreed.
That happens.
you could say the same thing about Julio Jones.
You
Like
could say
Julio
Kevin-
Say
Jones
it every year.
is a top 5 is top 5 receiver every year,
Yep.
but it comes in bunches.
Like Kevin Ogletree, week 1, 89% of his fantasy numbers for the Cowboys. That's an old school throwback for people playing fantasy for a while.
Thank you, Ron. All right. What's the most carries you think David Johnson has received in a week thus far?
Probably week 1.
13.
All right, give me a number. He gave me 13. What you give me?
14.
Nah.
$1.
Ryan was dead on it. He received 13. You know what week he received it in?
Week 1.
Week 3, son.
Week
This
3.
this week.
Threesome.
Week 3. You know how many yards per carry he averaged?
Congratulations.
1.8.
It's not what you want.
All right, so
Those are
here's
Jordan Howard numbers that he wishes he had.
here's what we got David Johnson wise. Going from week 1 to week 3. 11 for 77 and a touchdown. 11 for 34. 11 for 23.
Progressively going down.
And his receiving numbers have went down as well. 3 receptions, 2 receptions, 2 receptions. No more than 32 yards in a game. What do you do with David Johnson?
Try to sell him to someone like you.
What's that supposed to mean?
Someone
You're
like
a
you
big
or
Adele
Jordan, the
fan.
guy that's kind of looking for another running back to fit into their lineup and hope that you can get something in return. Maybe like a Jordan and try to get one of his receivers. But
Jordan's a much better target than I
would
am.
try to deal him.
Here's my thing. I'm not starting David Johnson over Kareem Hunt,
No. wouldn't.
and I don't have any assets to really give him for David Johnson. So,
Lunges.
but David Johnson, dude,
Assets.
I think if you were going to deal him, at this point you either had to deal him after week 1, or you got to wait for a better week.
Yes, exact same.
So
thing
I'm
with
saying
Antonio Gibson.
chill to deal, chill to deal.
I just want everybody to know that your ears are probably going to be hurting because JT just screamed "chill to deal," but
But I'm not killing.
that's not a terrible idea. I mean, you want him to have another good week, so you get a little bit of value.
The Texans' offense has been kind of concerning to me.
It's
They have
I don't
had
think
they've had
Watson's
the
been
hardest
really good.
schedule to start out the season.
That's what I'm
Probably
sitting there looking at. I'd
they
chill
played
on
the
them.
Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That's a pretty rough start.
Yeah.
Against those 3 teams.
Minnesota, Jacksonville, and Tennessee are the next 3.
You think Bill O'Brien made somebody mad?
Yeah,
I mean, he's made
every Texans fan that watched their best players get traded away for 3rd-round picks, probably.
All right, good point. But they have. I mean, who you couldn't ask for a worse schedule? KC, Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask for a worse schedule.
And if you're watching those games, you're like, man, you really know what we could use right now? Number 1 wide receiver.
You know who ran a lot? You know who did a lot better against Pittsburgh? David Johnson over Saquon Barkley.
Melvin Gordon over.
Yeah,
Saquon
that's
Barkley.
true. That's true. All right, so Brian, you saying chill?
Yeah, I'm chilling on him.
Right.
I want to see what he does against,
Who do they got? Who does Houston have this week? Because I think this could be a big
like I said, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
I think it is.
They've
This-
got a stout defense.
They
If you-
do,
if
they
you
do.
think- no,
Yeah,
they don't.
Minnesota-
Minnesota's defense is terrible.
All right.
The rest of his season's not terrible defensively, except for Indy. We'll get to them. But Minnesota, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Green Bay, Jacksonville again, Cleveland, New England, Detroit, Indy, Chicago, Indy, Cincinnati.
Thanks for the rundown.
Did
You're
they play Indy 3 times?
I said Indy a couple
Oh,
times,
okay.
twice
Gotcha.
as in schedule.
All
You're
right.
quite right, indeed.
Who we got next on Kill Deal Chew?
Giddy up.
Michael Giddy Up Gallup.
Michael Giddy Up Gallup. Let's take a look at old Giddy Up, see what he's got. So who rosters Giddy Up?
That'd be me.
Oh,
You
raw
already put him in
dog.
your pants, right?
Yep, I started him week 1. I haven't started him since, and he had a good game yesterday. But I think Dak threw 73 times for 472 yards.
Yeah.
I think he threw 50 plus times.
You know that's second in Cowboys history.
Passing attempts or passing yards?
Passing yards.
Behind Tony Romo, I'm guessing.
Against Denver in a freaking slobber knocker of a game in
Can you say
2012.
that?
Slobber knocker? Dude, I remember that game. I remember that
Yeah,
game.
I
Tony
think-
Romo threw a pick late. Denver ended up
Right.
winning. The year that Denver was better than everybody else except for Seattle.
I mean, this offense in Dallas, for whatever reason, like it might be the offensive line injuries, it might be the coaching staff, it might be Jerry Jones' influence. They're throwing the ball a lot more than they should be. But when they're doing that, Dak's he's not just targeting on one guy, so he's spreading around. So Amari Cooper's got one great game, CeeDee Lamb's got a great game, Gallup's got a good game. Some guy named Cedric the Entertainer Wilson having a good game yesterday.
Dalton Schultz.
Blake Jarwin's replacement, Dalton Schultz.
Still
Blake
makes me
Jarwin.
mad. I know it gets a little off, but 2 weeks ago, Dak had 3 rushing touchdowns, and they were all within like a 5-yard.
Yeah, they were
I'm like,
goal line
hey,
touchdowns.
you have a top 3 running back, and I'm not just saying this because it's on my fantasy team. I hate when people have talent and they want to be
After the first 2 weeks of the season, Ezekiel Elliott had the second most carries in 75 behind Cam Newton, but they're doing it every time on first down when they're stacking it. Maybe give it to them on second, third down. Don't just give it to them only on first down. Mix it up a little bit.
I think they got to be better with their play calling.
Yeah,
but
it mix your play calling up a little bit.
But looking at Gallup, all right, so 3 receptions, 50 yards. 2 receptions, 58 yards. 6 receptions, 138. He's at like his targets and his receptions are coming down the field.
Yeah, I mean, like the week 1, that offensive pass interference where Jalen Ramsey basically
Oh, yeah, dude, that was
that was
Don't
the difference between him having like 25 or 30 yards, whatever he had, and having 80 or 100.
oh, he had 50. He had 50 yards, and he could have easily had 90.
That was a 50-yard
Yeah.
reception easily right there. That completely changes the outlook. He probably wouldn't come out on the line.
So what are you doing, Ryan? Are you
I'm not-
KD or
I'm
C?
not- I'm not dropping him. If somebody wants it, offer the trade.
He's a D guy.
We know that.
Kinda like you.
Back to the segment.
I am a DC guy over Marvel, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I mean, if somebody wants him, they can have him. I have wide receiver depth, but his talent level is too good to.
I like Michael Gallup. Again, I don't really have the assets to
trade
really put together a good trade, but I do like some Gallup. I wouldn't say yet. Maybe this changes in a couple weeks, but I wouldn't say yet that CD Lamb is ahead of Michael Gallup.
No, but this Cedric Wilson kid came out of nowhere and got 2 50-yard touchdowns, 40-yard touchdowns yesterday. Where did that guy come from?
That's true.
I'm saying that when Michael Gallup had over like 130 touchdowns.
Yeah, 138, man. 6 receptions, 138 touchdown. Tough to beat.
Yeah.
Jack, what are you doing on Michael Gallup? You did?
I would, but I'm guessing that would be CD. I'm hoping that they can kill just so CD can emerge, but honestly, I'm sure. I think that offense is going to continue to throw the ball out. I did say at one point earlier in the season, I think they could have 3 receivers, and 3 times going with that. Probably looking. Yeah, it's a long shot, but it could happen.
I think Dak is actually on pace for the most passing attempts in NFL history.
I think
right now.
Dak already has like 1,100 yards in passing.
I'll tell you this about Dak. I know this for a fact. He has more than double the passing attempts that Kirk Cousins does. Boom.
I mean, everybody does that perennial all-pro.
It is. It is a little crazy. It is a little crazy. Brian, what are you doing? KDC, Michael Gallup. Giddy up, son.
He already said he was going to chill. And the last one of those, Jake, is
Miller.
Anthony.
Oh, Anthony Miller. All right, so Anthony Miller's on my squad. And, boys, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what to do on it.
That's why we have this segment.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, I can do nothing but be honest. I guess I could lie. I guess I could do that. But I'm not going
They
to.
talk about how you're going to chill on them just to see something.
Those are the options.
I'll say this. I don't really know what to do now that Foles is
I was about to say, how does it change your view of him? Does it increase his value, you think?
kind of. All right, so here's my thing with Anthony.
So do you
Miller.
like quarterbacks that over
Oh, yeah, I've seen
and
it.
underthrow wide receivers or kind of throw it towards your hand? It might be wobbling, but it's catchable.
I kind of like when they throw it to him.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
All right, so Anthony Miller, dude. Again, like I don't, I have no clue what to think. Here's what Anthony Miller looks like stat wise. So game log. Here's what we got. in week 1, Anthony Miller, he has 4 receptions, 76 yards, a touchdown. Game-winning touchdown.
Yep.
Week 2.
Who's that against Detroit?
That was against Detroit. Week 2, 3 targets, 0 receptions. You know what happens when you have 0 receptions?
Probably a 0 yard.
You get 0 points. Week 3, 2 receptions, 41 yards, catches another game-winning touchdown. He has 2 game winners in 3 weeks.
Did anybody see the tweet somebody did? It was a side-by-side play. It was a 3rd down play. Same exact play call, same exact down, and with both of them to Anthony Miller. One by Trubisky, one by Foles. The Trubisky one was an uncatchable ball, and Miller's was a game-winning touchdown. And it just shows what a competent quarterback. Not a good quarterback, even. A competent quarterback.
That's stable, even.
All right, so dude, I'm gonna be honest. I need some advice. I feel like I need to as well.
You got Foles. He's the clear cut.
I mean, you might even be able to get somebody to trade for him just for the
You know who?
the promise.
You know who?
But yeah, I do.
Baba Booey.
Yes, that.
If I send a trade with Anthony Miller involved, it's going to him.
I sent a trade for Anthony Miller with him last year.
Honestly, I was really excited to get Anthony Miller. I don't really know what to think right now, but I think you guys.
The one negative that I have noticed early in the season, Jimmy Graham is still a lot of red zone time.
Yeah.
David Montgomery's not running the ball in, so he's
Yeah.
going to be coming through the air.
Does so Nick Foles is he going to have any like chemistry with any of these guys, or is it just kind of like all just feel?
It's going to happen with Aaron Allen Robinson, I think.
Because he is like the guy.
He's the best receiver on that team.
He's far and away the best receiver on that team. He had like a 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns with Blake Bortles.
Yeah, he did.
You're going to establish chemistry with Blake Bortles. I don't think it's going to take that long to establish with Nick Foles.
I think he's going to be so relieved to have a quarterback that can actually get him the ball and not like look at him for 40 seconds.
Right. The thing is, the ball doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be accurate. Look at Peyton Manning's end of his career.
If I could trade for someone right now, I would probably be trying to trade for Robinson.
I declined one for him last week too. I kind of wish I would have accepted it
I
now.
offered one for him last week.
I had DJ Moore and Allen Robinson on the table for Marquise Brown and Deontay Johnson. I don't feel like an idiot for that accepted now, but you live and you learn.
You live and you learn. You live and you learn. All right, Brian. What's our last segment for tonight's show?
But Scorpio, you want to send a trade out again?
The what? All right, let's take a look at our matchups from this past week, week 3. All right, what matchups have already been decided? Let's check it out. All right, so our matchups that have already been decided. So we have, let's look. All right, here we go. We have Turd Sandwiches, Jake, against All Barkley, No Bite, Michael. All right. All right, let's look at this matchup. So, right off the bat, Jake, I'm just gonna call a spade. Russell Wilson
Spade,
clearly outperformed Gardner Minshew.
along with everybody else in the league.
For Russell Wilson, is looking phenomenal right now.
I'm just looking at the first 2 lines of Jake's team. He had 2 players get 2-point conversions right off the top, which
That's weird.
is just a weird stat to see.
So your second leading point getter is that yeah, point getter, Austin Eckler. You feel better about him?
I had felt good on that. I was mad that he wasn't getting red zone, and that I think he showed it again Sunday. He's the best back there, and the quarterback change helps him a lot because he got a lot more targets, a lot more checkdowns, and playing a little bit more of a hurry up or I should say hurry up, but a little bit more pace to it kind of offense. Hopefully he'll get more time, and also because with the ball on the ground, that's all I can do after that. So Eckler can become a young quarterback's best friend because when in doubt, check it down, and that dude can make things happen on check down. I just need him to continue to get the end zone. If he continues to do that, I think he's a first round talent running back.
He had almost a check session.
Yeah.
He had 11 yesterday.
let's look at who led Michael's squad. So he had two 20-point getters.
You have one just go the heck off in the fourth quarter. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Then the Rams come back. Him and Woods just went berserk.
How good you feel about Cooper Kupp? Patrick Mahomes just threw a 50-yard bomb, son. Is that McCole Hardman? Yep, McCole Hardman. Yep, McCole Hardman. Cooper Kupp. All right, who would you rather have rest of the season? Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods.
Why you gotta talk about
Because this is real talk.
that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had that option in the draft, and I was in a conundrum.
Everybody had that option in the draft.
But I'm the only person besides Mike who actually took one of those two. And I took
Fair
Robert
point.
Woods
Fair
over
point.
Kupp.
Who? All right. So rest of the season, who would you take?
For me, it depends on what you want. Do you want touchdowns, or do you want a consistent every week a floor of 7 or 8 targets?
All right. Rest of season, who scores more points?
Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
If he doesn't get hurt, but that's a big if, so I'm going to go with stability Robert Woods. I'm flip-flopping, buddy. I'm going to say Robert Woods.
I like Robert Woods. Jake, who would you go rest of the season? Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods?
I honestly feel like from game to game, I'm just going to go with Cooper Kupp. I'll get Robert Woods. I'm not saying Robert Woods isn't a great Robert Woods. Like I just said, it's a coin flip, but I'm just going to go Kupp.
Okay. Brian, who would you go? Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, rest of the season.
I think Woods goes
Woods goes nuts. I like Robert Woods. I'd probably take him over Cooper Kupp, but Cooper Kupp does have, I think, a higher ceiling than Robert Woods does.
He does, but the floor is much higher for Robert Woods.
Yeah,
And
like
that's-
Robert
that's
Woods
why I
is.
drafted
Yeah,
him.
that's a good point.
nuts.
Fourth round, I remember that.
Yes.
I really wanted Robert Woods.
He was my number one wide receiver, which you usually don't want a high floor, low ceiling guy as your number one, but I felt like I had 3 solid running backs, so I was willing to.
He would break through that class season.
That's a good point. So the other 20-point getter for Michael, James Conner. And I think we all slept on James Conner. You know who slept on James Conner? I slept on James
You're on
Conner.
the snail trail.
I'm on the snail trail, son. Still holding on.
Hey, everybody, how about that snail trail?
I don't think anybody slept on James Conner as much as that. We just don't think he's going to stay healthy, which is a legitimate complaint.
He gets banged up a lot. He ends up leaving games early a lot. I feel like I have to keep Benny Snell for that reason. But dude, James Conner looked really good yesterday.
He beat Kansas.
He did beat Kansas. Yeah, James Conner. Dude, James Conner is like he's
He's an ACC kid.
he's a like stand-up dude, I believe.
No, so Mike, don't just base that off the fact that he beat Kansas.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about like the way his teammates talk about him, the way the coaching staff talks about him.
Kareem Hunt, Ray Rice, list goes on and on.
He's no John Conner,
So
though.
looking at Michael's team, he's a little disappointed, obviously, in the Minshew play.
17 tight ends.
Jackson not doing anything. But
Well, he got hurt. I think Deshaun Jackson got hurt.
He did. He went out early.
Look at his bench. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like he had like great options down there that he could have played in there. I mean, Baker with 14 is 4 points higher than Minshew.
Yeah.
It's not like it's an incredible difference.
The only 2 players
Oh,
on
the
this
receiver
bench that got double digits were both quarterbacks, so it's not like he
All
had
right,
any
so Michael holds what?
3 quarterbacks,
3
4 tight ends.
How 4? Yeah, hold on. 1.
He's got 2 tight ends starting. And then 2
Yeah, so
quarterbacks.
he has 4 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks. Is that?
It's not a recipe for success because you can only start 1 quarterback and a possible 2 tight ends.
I think Michael's playing us. What do you think? You think Michael's playing us?
He wants to get the pulpit.
Yeah, Michael.
He wants to get the pulpit.
And,
You wanna get a pool?
and the thing about Michael, he has 2 players in his power spots that are out for the year. So not sure if they're going to be coming back.
Yeah.
Both.
He does like a comeback.
I'll tell you, not to, I mean, it's a little bit of a
Tell
brag
us
here,
how.
but, Taylor didn't get in the end zone, and it was a blowout. They didn't really try that hard in the second half, as bad as that sounds. And Elliott, they were playing from behind, became a shootout. I think both of them will have bigger weeks than what they had at 12.7, 14.8.
I don't know, Dane Hines coming in.
Well, if I can get consistent production out of Eckler, and then if Kittle and Brown come back to be what I kind of hope they would be, I really like the way my team shaped.
I mean, that's last year.
Well, I mean, I think he was big with Adam.
He played the same role that Adams played in that offense, and it didn't look much different.
he's
Besides
not,
the fact that Adams probably would have finished a couple of those long catches.
Lazard.
he's not been a bad play. My fear is that when Adams is out there, he's a reach at wide receiver 3, depending on matchups. Now, Adams gets hurt a lot. So when Adams is out, I'm just like, from here on out, he's got to be.
He's the best start with Adams. So.
Just the lumber house is out there. Does that
Continuity is
He's
important.
big, and he's been reliable so far, which I think when we first did our first episode on Draft Review, Andrew talked about who was the Packer receiver last year.
Marquez, Valdez,
And he kind of compared him to that. And the one thing that the difference was drops compared to guards having reliable hand track. A big target and hasn't dropped the ball. Even last night when he started getting tripped up, he's still focused on a deep ball, which that's a tough catch to make when you're falling down and losing your balance. He fell down on one and got tagged up for his own, which he still got the touchdown on that one. And then later got hawked down, which I haven't forgave him on, even though he wasn't in my starting lineup in this league. But he did look good.
He's got the trust of a good quarterback.
Lazard.
All right, let's look at our second matchup that has been wrapped up already. We have victim of the system, Brian Roberts, versus bye week, the zombie, Steve Reitmeyer.
He's changed his team.
He definitely does, dude. Reitmeyer is that 21 play.
He's that dude.
He's that dude. He's zombied. He's zombied. He got brought back in the game. Zombie, zombie, zombie. Hey, 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 ho, 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 ho,
He's really
ho,
gonna do it.
All right.
It's
in your head. So Reitmeyer, dude, he kind of came out of nowhere here because we all thought that Brian had this wrapped up. Brian has an explosive team, a dangerous team. It is the highest point getter of the first 2 weeks.
What if anyone else
right,
in the league?
yeah,
So
and
what do you
Reitmeyer
worry
comes down. Dude, Reitmeyer's still going. He has 169 right now, and he's still got Tyreek Hill going. I mean,
He
dude,
already has 16.6.
Reitmeyer's team came out of nowhere. But you know who was highest? His highest starting position, or his highest starting, I guess, player, if you want to call it that, was
Josh Allen.
Probably Josh
Nope.
Allen. Indianapolis.
I know
is deep.
something.
Indianapolis defense. And dude, I will be the first to admit that when we looked at the fab, I said, Reitmeyer picked up Indy's defense $6. There ain't really much to say there. I was wrong.
They were playing Sam Darnold.
Doesn't matter. He scored 33.
I'm pretty sure he's
Two
doing his
touchdowns.
Best, he's doing his best Mark Sanchez impersonation.
They had two touchdowns. They had 2 touchdowns. They had a safety. They had 3 picks. I mean, they destroyed them. Josh Allen, Jake, you talked about Josh Allen at the top of the show. Josh Allen looks like a stud. Dalvin Cook, 181 yards.
I will say, y'all said on the podcast on Saturday, I wasn't able to be here, but y'all were talking about Dalvin Cook and can we trust him? The dude's got all the talent in the world. It's just the fact of if Kirk Cousins can open up, it's the thing where do you run to open up the pass or do you pass to open up the run? I think they need to go hand in hand. Kirk Cousins was actually to open up the field a little bit with Justin Jefferson having a good game, Thielen doing whatever Thielen does.
That's just Kirk Cousins.
And then it's just it allowed Dalvin Cook to face a little bit lighter box, and he showed out and showed up. So, I mean, it's
But I feel like that's the story of Minnesota, don't you, Ryan? That,
Yeah.
that when Kirk Cousins actually shows up and plays like what got him that contract, it opens up so much more for Dalvin.
Yeah.
And then you have Kirk Cousins that's basically Dwayne Haskins and just throws it to the other team more than he does to his own team. Constantly is off target. And then everyone's like, he's off today. Let's take away Dalvin, and they have no offense.
I mean, they really miss the play calling of Kevin Stefanski, which he really hasn't showed up because Baker's been terrible in Cleveland. But that he's a creative play caller and got the running backs involved. You can see with Chubb and Hunt, like Cook benefited from that last year, and he doesn't have it this year, but he still has the talent.
It is different play calling. I would say my biggest issue with Minnesota, and I guess looking at both Cook and Cousins, is just that, dude, they don't hold the ball long. They don't run many plays. So, like, from a fantasy perspective, I don't know about you guys, but I want guys that, again, they got a lot of opportunity. If you don't have opportunity, you can't. You're not gonna.
If teams are not running a lot of plays, I want it to be that Pat Mahomes throwing a 60-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill so the drive's like 2 plays, 3 plays long. But
Right.
it's still productive.
Like what Seattle's doing right
Yeah,
now.
like
They're not running many plays.
Yeah, Minnesota's just 3 and out. Running, like, their drives are 3 plays, 5 plays long. It's not what
That John Fox strategy.
Punt on 3rd down. Never see it coming.
Nobody sees it coming.
I don't know if y'all watched that Panthers-Chargers game yesterday, but Greg Gumbel and Rich Gannon might be the worst announcers. Greg Gumbel looked at Rich Gannon yesterday and said, "You think they should punt it here?"
I heard that.
And Rich Gannon was like, "I don't think so." He said, "Oh, yeah, it's 3rd down." They wouldn't see it coming. I'm like,
There
what's
was
going on?
There was a long, awkward pause there, and I was waiting for a rebuttal. And then that's what happened. Oh, it's 3rd down. It wouldn't be good.
And Greg Gumbel also asked Rich Gannon what he thought about the Panthers' offensive line going against Joey Bosa, and they're like, "Well, Brian Bulaga has been banged up, so is Trey Turner." I was like, "Those are Chargers offensive linemen. We have no clue." First drive of the game, so I just watched the rest of the game on mute. But that was a little tangent. But yeah, Dalvin Cook's good.
All right. So, Reitmeyer had 3 players score over Brian's top player, who was James Robinson. Who would have saw that coming from Brian's team, that his top player be James Robinson from this week? I would. He scored 27.9, but dude, even when we looked at Saturday, like I looked at Brian's team and I'm thinking, he's probably got a couple big outings in the bag right here. Solid.
Yeah.
Dude, you scored 144. You got nothing.
Second half point total for the week.
With Ingram sucking.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley not having Julio hurt his touchdown chances, and then Chris Godwin pulling up with a hamstring injury didn't
How
help.
worried are you on that?
Now, put him on the bench, taking us back to Robbie Anderson.
I mean, yeah, you got Robbie Anderson, you got Jamison Crowder. He's got to come back at some
Can
point.
we look at Brian's injuries? Like the fact that he lost McCaffrey for a couple weeks, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Godwin, whatever." All this stuff. Robbie Anderson, who's top 10 still probably in receiving, and then who else did you most?
He's got 3 San Francisco running backs on his team, and they've all had productive weeks when they played.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I think you have the deepest team, and you're gonna be 1 and 2.
Yeah. Oh no.
That's why.
And there's nothing
Yeah,
I
with
can
the
do.
most points in the league.
I can't. There's nothing I can do with it. Just sit back and wait.
You remember our
Hopefully
whole
this
like
streak
KDC section of it? Just chill, man. Like he's
Yeah,
gonna
just
play.
chill, dog.
He's gonna
Chill.
play a couple of other people at this table and probably get wins over him. So
You're gonna have your worst week against me. That's what happens.
this is what he's got so far.
Dude, look, I went from 81 against me to
Yeah.
now I'm favored 65.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening. I got scored right where I want it.
Right where he wants. You hear that score? He's talking.
Until the Chiefs start blowing out the Ravens and they stop passing the ball. And
Travis
they start
Kelce's
playing
gonna
with
get-
Clyde.
Travis Kelce's going to get carries, son.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, good. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I don't see either one of y'all.
All right, so let's look at some other matchups that are still in the process, still yet to be determined. What are we going to go with here? Let's go with Broach Autobahn time versus Jordan of Jordan's team. So Jordan's heavily favored here with an 87% chance according to Yahoo, but Yahoo doesn't know what they're talking about. Jordan still has Lamar Jackson to go. Boys, I'm going to be honest, dude. Lamar Jackson has 3.5 at halftime. Worried?
I mean, for the game, yeah.
Lamar Jackson has more rushing yards than passing yards so far in the first half.
And has a fumble lost. It's 3.5.
Yep.
Are we talking about in the long haul? Are we worried?
Do you think, all right, Lamar Jackson was drafted as the second overall quarterback. Do you think he finishes as number 1 or number 2?
No.
That's obviously neither him or Pat Mahomes would.
Pat
Really?
Mahomes got a shot.
Pat Mahomes got a shot,
Pat
son.
Mahomes won't.
I think Lamar Jackson still got a shot.
I mean, right now it's basically a 4-horse race with Wilson out in front, then Josh Allen, then Dak's throwing like crazy, and then Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But those two still have a shot with
And then-
Lamar's rushing and then
Just-
Pat Mahomes.
Just crediting Kyler Murray, who's also I think right now a top 5 quarterback.
You know who's going to make a run towards the top for quarterback?
Who?
It'll be Matt Ryan.
Uh,
I'm going to tell you why.
As bad as that defense is not that
Right,
far
the
off.
offense is great. Nobody's sitting here saying Atlanta's offense is terrible. But look, Kansas City more well balanced. They get a lead. They'll be running the ball more. Down the line, it's the same way. Atlanta, they're going to be playing from behind or in a shootout. every week.
Yep, you're exactly
So
right.
Matt Ryan, I have a feeling, will at least be top 7 before the season's over.
All right, the highest score for Jordan right now, and he is, again, still favored to win, was New England's defense at 19. 19 hit a couple, hit 17.5, a 14.1, 11.5, 12.9. That's a man. That's hard to imagine. But Broach had a couple spots that just didn't rise to the occasion.
He had Tyler Lockett and then bleh.
Yeah, Julian Edelman came back down to earth after that career game last week. Josh Jacobs came back down to earth. Didn't score a touchdown, lost a fumble.
Leonard Fournette didn't get garbage time as much as he got last week.
Yeah, 22 combined yards. Austin Hooper is still Austin Hooper.
Poopa.
Austin Poopa?
Poopa. Poopa. Scoopa.
I do. As soon as you get done with that, I did pull up quarterbacks on fantasy real quick. I kind of want to share some of those stats for y'all, but keep going.
All right. I will say this, Jordan. So Jordan made a trade with Jake. Processed Sunday morning. Tyler Boyd. Jordan received Tyler Boyd and Devin Singletary. Tyler Boyd finished with 10 receptions, 125 yards. Devin Singletary, a combined 121 with 4 receptions. Good trade for both of y'all.
Yeah.
I think I was telling him yesterday. I think from the trades I can remember from the past couple of years, that's probably the most well-balanced trade.
How many trades do you think Rands did he can remember?
Well, they're all.
Do you think he remembers this year's trade that he
Yeah,
made?
he'll remember that. He can't remember all players involved.
Do you think he remembers my 3rd round pick?
Look, next time he's on, I'm asking him.
For sure.
Every time he's on, I'm going to ask him that. Jake, what are we looking like fantasy QB wise?
So Pat Mahomes has like close to 30 right now. I'm just going to go ahead and say 30 for the number's sake, which would put Pat Mahomes on the season plus 30 was what he had going into today at – sorry.
Probably 55,
No,
57?
he was at 47 before the game,
47,
so
okay.
that puts him at 77, 77.9.
With a half to play.
With a half to play. Right now, number 1 quarterbacks, Russell Wilson with 102. Allen at 94. Dak at 86.92. Kyler Murray, 85. And then you got a pretty big drop-off to Rodgers at 73.98.
Okay.
So there's, again, like the 5 that we kind of mentioned, plus I think by the end of the game, I don't think he'll be ahead of Murray, but I think he'll be right there at him.
Yeah.
Because if he goes for 40, that would put him right at 85, which would put him right there with Kyler. And so you're kind of looking at it. I mean, Matt Ryan was the other one we brought up. He's at 65. So just kind of look at that. Matt Ryan's got 65 fantasy points on the year. Russell Wilson, 102, and Josh Allen at 94.
Josh Allen's probably the one that stands out the most to me.
Yes, for sure.
All right, let's look at our next.
How many leagues do you think he got drafted?
He got drafted in probably everyone but ours.
Yeah.
Josh Allen should have been drafted in ours. There were quarterbacks that got taken that should not have been drafted.
If Dak
over
and
Josh
Russell
Allen.
Wilson wouldn't have fallen where they fell, I'm pretty sure one of these 2 guys over here would have drafted Josh Allen late.
Really big
Josh Allen should have been drafted over Tom Brady.
Tom Brady shouldn't have been drafted.
No, Tom Brady. I still think Tom Brady should have been drafted, but I don't think he should have been drafted
Not
Do you
over.
think
before
our
Russell
league
Wilson and
gets to
Dak
a point where
Prescott.
quarterbacks become big again?
Big again. I wonder because
it seems like as soon as we went from 6 points per touchdown
to 4,
all
it changed. Well,
And it should have.
it should.
Right? No, I don't disagree.
I think it just comes down to like the wave of fantasy football. Like super flexes are big now. Do we ever go to that? I don't know.
The drop
Do
off
we go-
from the 7th or 8th best running back to the drop off to the 7th, 8th best quarterback, everybody behind him, is so much bigger drop. Like
Yeah.
you get like 6 or 7 bell cows in the entire league, and then you're scrambling to find somebody that, hey, can he catch passes? Can he score goal line carries? Whereas quarterbacks, I don't think the drop off from the 6th best to the 7th best is that big of a drop off.
The NFL will tell us a lot, like just the style of play, I
Right.
believe.
That's
But
true.
you got a lot more running quarterbacks right now. All right, so
Hold on, JT.
Yeah.
With Ryan saying that, the number 1 fantasy running back right now is
Kamara
at
has to be.
93. Number 2 is 20 points behind him.
Yeah.
That's a whole game in Jones. And then you kind of follow down with that. Then it's 10 more points to Dalvin Cook, and then just right behind him Zeke. James Robertson is up there. So just to scroll down a little bit, guess who's still up there? Christian McCaffrey at 49.8. Him and Derrick Henry both have 49. All right. So think about that. Like you're looking at some of this talent.
The volatility at quarterback is a whole lot less than at running back.
Quarterbacks can single-handedly win you a week some weeks.
Right.
So can running backs. Not for sure. But it's hard to project almost exactly what the ceiling is for a quarterback because again, you throw like what Russell Wilson's done, 5-6 touchdowns a game.
Yeah, but you look last week, Jake had Russell Wilson like he should have dominated his matchup, but he went up against Josh Allen, who also dominated his matchup.
It's true.
But you look at Jake's matchup this week, Eckler has a great game. Elliott has a good game. I don't remember who. Jonathan Taylor had a good game.
Mm-hmm.
So it carries your lineup because those three, and Jake went pretty running back heavy. I think he went 3 out of his first 4 picks for running backs.
Yeah, it's true.
Brian's giggling on the couch over there because Jake said James Robertson instead of James Robinson, and that happens to be my name. So
congratulations, Ryan.
Now everybody's caught up, and while Brian is no longer on his mic.
All right, so let's look at our fourth matchup of the week. This one's still going, 97% chance of winning for Baba Booey, Andrew Ransdale, ? Over the fantasy phenom, Ryan Robertson, who just rushed for how many yards did you rush for?
Fantasy points this week.
I'm proud of you. So Rans Diddy had 3 guys score over 20 points. 1 was a defense, Tampa Bay, 1 safety, 2 interceptions, 6 sacks, block kick. They did what they did against Denver. Also had Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's 2 back-to-back weeks with 2 touchdowns. Scored 23.5. Keenan Allen.
That's my boy. I didn't mind seeing that happen against me.
13 catches. Did not see that coming.
16. He had
19.
Catches, he had 19 targets, though. 19. And we haven't talked about it yet, but they were like 2 inches away from completing that hook and ladder to Eckler.
They really were.
Which, if he would have called it, he could have bobbled it 3 times and still walked into the end zone.
That was a well-constructed play.
It was. I don't know if Eckler was running too fast or just Allen threw it behind him.
He's the fastest kid alive.
I mean, there's no way we're catching him.
So, along with Rans Diddy, with those 3 players, had only 2 other players score double digits. Deshaun Watson, 1806. He ended up kind of similar to what we talked about the other night when we were talking about like his projected stat line. Just didn't have the rushing yards. Adam Thielen, 10.8. Outside of that, he was carried by 3 20-point getters.
Well, I have 2 of my receivers that have less than a point, which is not ideal.
Ron, who did you need to go off tonight?
I needed Marquise Brown and Clyde to go off. Clyde's got 5.6, and Marquise Brown has dropped 2 passes.
KDC?
CEH. We're going to work on these acronyms.
You Dylan Hollywood?
Marquise Brown.
You benching him?
He's throwing. He's going to get thrown into the panic room. I don't know if I'm going to let him out.
Oh man, this is
a
live update.
Hollywood for Ty.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Jake just said Hollywood for Ty, whatever.
20 foes causing clothes.
Stop. But we were sitting beside each other on draft night, and I looked at Jake and I said,
Jake,
who would you draft between these 2 wide receivers? And he said, which 2? No, it's fine. I'm gonna soldier through this. I'm not gonna let him derail this. I said Marquise Brown or T.Y. Hilton. And Jake's exact response was, I like them both, but whoever you don't take, I'm gonna take. I literally flipped a coin on those 2 players and went with Marquise Brown. Having said that, I wish I would have picked another player because neither one of them are doing well.
Now, coming to year.
The only good game Marquise Brown had was week 1 where he had 101 yards and he was on my bench.
Hollywood, more like Bollywood.
If Lamar Jackson could actually throw, if Lamar Jackson could throw accurate passes, it'd help out because
blame it on him.
he's basically a running
Drop
back.
passes.
Hey, I believe in Bill Foley, and he's a running back.
Hey, so you did have all right. So you had one player score over Ransdale's top 4 players, Mr. Dak Prescott. Anything else we can say about Dak at this point?
They're tailoring the offense for him, which helps out my fantasy numbers, but it doesn't help them win football games.
Oh,
Boom. All right, let's look at our last matchup of the week, and this one's coming down to the wire, boys.
Come on, Hollywood.
This is me, JT the Commish, Cult of Personality, against Scorp, Andrew Speary. And look, last night I thought Kamara put this away. And I'm not saying that I've won this because there's still a lot of football to be played in, but anything can happen. But this got a lot closer. No, he didn't.
Okay.
All right.
That's fair.
That's fair. He just picked up a couple more points right there. So it's 68-32 in my favor. Let's look at Scorp's team, dude. Kamara, Alvin Kamara. If you're drafting right now, what happened, Ryan?
Clyde's over there got like a 25-yard catch.
So
Oh,
JT,
okay, good.
you need 15 points.
I need less than that now. I need 13.
All right, so you need 13.
I need 13. If Travis Kelce catches a touchdown, I think I've got it. I really do.
I think it's
Better
going
hurry
to
up
run
done
heavy
before
here.
this quarter's up.
Why, you think
Tommy,
they're
I'm
going to
nervous
blow him
for you.
out?
I think they're
They
going to
are
run
blowing him out.
Yeah, they're blowing him out
Now.
now.
I see that.
I can see
They
that.
gonna bench him?
No, I see a
No,
running
you need
game
to start
here.
pulling.
Yeah, I can see running
You need
game.
to start pulling for Baltimore.
Yeah, I want Baltimore.
You need a Hollywood Brown touchdown.
Hey,
Don't
Hollywood
we
always
all?
up to no good.
If you pull for a Hollywood touchdown, we all win.
Once upon a time.
I'm fine. I don't care. He can score a touchdown. He can score a touchdown.
Yeah, you're done.
Alvin Kamara, if you're drafting today, where does Alvin Kamara go in the draft?
Back to where he was. Back the way he came.
Number 9?
4.
Is this
Four.
without Barkley and McCaffrey being hurt?
Yeah, this is
Start the draft all over again.
let's say there's not talk of Alvin Kamara having contract disputes, Alvin Kamara having epidural.
He should have gone.
You're the guy that needs to answer this question.
And I still feel good about Derrick Henry because you know
So
what?
going back, knowing what you know now,
Mm-hmm.
taking Henry over Kamara.
It'd be tougher. The main reason I stood away from Kamara is because of those 2 reasons I just mentioned.
Yep.
But I still feel good about Derrick Henry. The reason I took him is because I want to win weeks 14 through 16.
But,
Weeks 1 through
so
13.
you think Kamara's going to fall off?
I think it's almost impossible to continue the pace that he's on fantasy wise right now.
I mean, didn't he score like 20 touchdowns a couple of years ago when he was just getting a ton of goal line carries and receiving touchdowns? So I mean, this is as healthy as he's been since then, and that's with an epidural in his back.
But he's also got Michael Thomas out, and Drew Brees ain't throwing the ball down the field. So that means there's a lot of targets opening up.
That's still
It could, but Michael Thomas empties a lot of
So
targets.
JT, you know I was big on Henry going into the draft. So I'm not saying that was the bad pick or anything like that. This is the one thing I will say that Kamara has over him is how much he gets involved in the passing game.
True, but I don't think he's going to catch 13 passes a week
No.
for 139 yards.
But I mean, if he catches 7 and gets 2 touchdowns off of it, all of a sudden you're saying that's something that maybe you don't see as much from Derrick Henry. So the rushing yards are similar, but he can add 40 to 50.
The rushing yards aren't going to be similar, though, because Kamara never sees the volume that Derrick Henry does.
Total
rushing.
yards.
Total
I
yards?
think Kamara
Plus
had
receptions.
6 carries last night.
Yeah.
6.
Again,
How many total yards?
He
Kamara
had 13 catches.
Okay. How
So
many
long
total
story short,
Total yards,
You're still
yeah,
going in.
190.
Kamara may end the year
190.
being the better fantasy player, but I want to win weeks 14 through 16. I'm going Derrick Henry down the stretch with a lot of injured defenses and a favorable schedule.
If he wouldn't have had that back injection, I would have taken Kamara at 7 over Clyde.
Who?
Clyde.
Edwards-Helaire.
You got to give me acronyms.
Carl.
So the other big score for Scorp's team, Allen Robinson, 10 catches, 123, touchdown. We talked about Allen Robinson a little bit.
I'm finally buying on Robinson.
Hey, looks good.
I
Looks
told
good.
y'all by week 4 I wanted Allen Robinson to be on my team after Brian said, and by week 4 I don't think he'll be in Scorp starting lineup, and I really wanted him on my team.
Yeah,
Still
I think
do.
we all did because I
I'm
You're
not
a
trying
liar.
to be a big guy.
I know, I still want him. But I turned down that trade last week and really regretting it.
If Scorp loses this by less than 8 points, I think
He'll trade Allen Robinson to
I
him.
know. I think you know who the brunt of this loss is on. DK Metcalf.
Yeah, that upset me.
Not the touchdown.
Had it.
And it was a bomb, too.
And he pulls up Oh, I'm the man. I'm the guy.
He's
And
a
what
big
happened?
guy. I don't think he talks.
Dude, I don't even think
He
he
might.
was running hard when he called it. Like he had
I don't think he
created
was
that much
either.
separation.
Oh, he was
Russell
coasting,
just
yeah.
dropped it in on his lap, and he just called it. Was already like coasting, and the guy just come up behind it.
Punch.
Boom! And lost to the end zone touchback. Change of possession. That could easily be. Scorp could have 8 more points right there.
Little
This
off.
makes it a lot harder for a lot more
I mean,
difficult to come back.
no, if he had 8 more points right now and was at 137, I would have said even with Mahomes continuing to kind of go off, it might be almost impossible still.
He also left Mike Davis on the bench with 19.1 over David Montgomery. And you know who talked him out of that? Shake my hand, Mr. Roberts. If I win this, it's because of you.
He
You're still
played.
gonna lose.
He played the
Maybe,
right Carolina player.
Hey, that's fine, dude. I don't care. I don't care. First 13 weeks, that's only the playoffs. The only weeks I care
You
about.
got to
14
care
weeks.
about the first 13.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Because, dude, I finished as the
Hey,
8th seed last year.
North
beat the number
Carolina.
1 seed. And, dude, I had a good squad going in. I just ran up on a bad week.
But you still got to care.
I do. I
Carolina's
care
one of
in the
first
fact that
13
I want to make
states.
sure that I have a good team
Oh,
going
man.
into those
So,
14 through
so
16.
everybody,
Hey, everybody. Hey,
I want to propose something kind
I
of
do. I do.
that we haven't put on our agenda, but I do want to just talk about real quick. All right, I want each one of us at the table right now to say our biggest concern and let others kind of voice it as well for each of our teams at a playoff run.
Joe Biden win the election.
There goes Brian.
He's
So Ryan,
big.
what would be
All right,
your
all right.
biggest concern at playoff time?
Starting the correct wide receivers.
So almost having too much depth.
Yes, I'm hoping either. I don't want my team to get hurt, but I want the cream to rise to the top just to separate themselves, so I know exactly which players to draft.
Yeah. The cream rises to the top.
Maybe you make a big trade to kind of help
I think
resolve
we
some
do.
of
Yeah,
that.
maybe I package 2 mid-level receivers to get an upper-level receiver for maybe people that are desperate for depth and would be willing to give up a number 1 for 2 number 2s.
I don't really have a number 1, but I will say that leading into that, my biggest fear leading into it is I like my quarterback, I like my running backs, I like my tight end. I am very afraid of my wide receivers. I don't know who to start from week to week, and
Yep.
they have been my biggest disappointment.
Yep, mine too, buddy.
But you're on the right track, man.
Well, I mean, I've tried to make moves that will help with
No,
it,
you
but
did good. You've done good so far.
Brian,
Christian McCaffrey
injuries.
is going back to the bench.
Well, are you open to trading Christian McCaffrey?
Am I hoping to?
No, are you open?
Oh, yeah, I told you. I'm always open to trading anybody on my team.
So if I offered you,
I don't have
I don't
the
know.
assets. I don't have the assets.
I do not have the
We
assets,
say this
dude.
every week.
Well,
He
I
does
did
this.
offer him.
I don't. I do not have the
Jonathan
assets.
I offered you what? Taylor and who was the Kittle?
Yep, it's tight.
Yeah, I offered him Taylor and Kittle, and he turned it down.
Did you do
I don't
that
have the
before
assets.
season started?
I offered him Saturday,
Oh, okay.
We were sitting around talking.
You know why?
and I couldn't get it
Because
done.
you want to win weeks 14 through 16.
I want to win weeks 1 through 5.
That doesn't
16.
matter.
To be
Well-
honest with you, boys, I just want to win week 16. I don't care how I get there.
You got to win weeks 14 and 15, though.
So JT, are you?
Can't
nervous?
get
Yeah, but if I
those
win
weeks.
14 and 15 and don't win 16, who cares?
True. If you don't win at all,
So you,
You ain't first, you
I
last.
do got a question for you because kind of just baiting off what you said here is you want to win those playoff weeks. Well, your biggest concern is like you don't have a lot of depth.
no. I have lottery tickets. I have
So what happens?
A lot
if
of
one-
lottery
So
tickets.
your biggest concern moving forward would be like I can't afford an injury.
Here's my thing. The first 3 players I took for a reason. High floor, because I knew I was taking lottery tickets. Derrick Henry, again, thought he offered the highest floor out of everybody that I saw. Travis Kelce, high floor. Patrick Mahomes, high floor. Then I took shots like Kareem Hunt. That was a lottery ticket pick. And he's probably offered a higher floor than I ever thought. I didn't think he would be like my running back 2, but he is. And he's been pretty consistent doing so. But if Nick Chubb goes down, he's top 10 back, maybe higher.
What will you do if Hunt goes down or Henry goes down?
Hope J.K. Dobbins works out.
Do you regret the Odell Beckham AJ Green stack for your wide receivers 1 and 2?
Odell, I didn't want to take Odell. I was actually wanting Juju. Jordan took Juju 1 spot ahead of me. I'm not saying that I panicked, but I looked at the best talent. I still think Odell Beckham's very talented. He's just not in the best system. AJ Green, again, looked at talent. AJ Green, I'm going to give him one more week before he probably permanently finds the bench. I'm kind of still up in the air about this week.
Who you going to after that, Miller?
DJ Chark should be back this week. So it'll be Odell, DJ Chark, and if Russell Gage goes through concussion protocol, I'm probably going to start Russell Gage because, like you guys said, they're going to throw the ball a lot. Julio's the best probably receiver to be opposite of. Not saying that Russell Gage is opposite of him, but Russell Gage has a lot of very favorable matchups.
Decent numbers with both Julio and Calvin on the field.
Hey, JT, would you trade OBJ for Marquise Brown? Just asking for a friend.
I would think about it. I'm not crazy about having 2 Cleveland Browns on my team.
Okay, just
all right,
spitballing over here for no reason in particular. Just
any more thoughts for week 3?
Would you trade OBJ for Robbie Anderson?
Honestly, I would think about it. Robbie Anderson looks like the number 1 right now.
Right now.
I mean, he looks like it.
I hate when Brian's trying to make trades for a team that doesn't do trades. Like, you just got to get healthy, guy. Hey,
guy.
You put up 144 with, 3 of your top players not playing. It's ridiculous.
Who was that, Ryan?
You're a bum.
Who was
that? Was Lamar Jackson scrambling and running because he's selfish, not share the ball.
He's fast.
He makes fast.
Brown
not
did
fast.
catch.
Yes, I did.
Oh, Brown's on the board.
Like 11
Hey,
yard
what?
catch for first down across the middle.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, but
what can Brown do for you?
Can pay for my college and destroy my back and knees, but other than that, not a ton.
FedEx is better.
All right. Anything else want to add to week 3?
See y'all Saturday.
And that's the end of week
Good job,
3.
Tommy.
We'll see y'all next